Hello and welcome back to Diabetic Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, who's got a lovely cup of very milky coffee and it's delicious. I'm enjoying every drop of this. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I've just gone through an update on my computer which has brought up the latest operating system, and as a result I've lost the note that I had about the chap, I think it was Paul, who wrote to me and said, "What do you do when you go out for meals?" Let's give you a couple of stories. This week I am away right now. You see me here as though I'm sitting at my desk, but actually right now I'm going to be, I think, sitting in a coach driving around Dartmoor. Could be on the way up to Cheltenham, I'm not sure, but I am on a Smithsonian Journeys tour. I am the tour expert talking about Mystery Lovers England. So I'm going to be talking about Agatha Christie in Torquay, talking about Bernard Knight, my friend in Wales, Becky Tope in Wales. I'll be talking about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in Dartmoor. I'll talk about Dick and Felix Francis. I'll be talking about Colin Dexter, P.D. James, Dorothy L. Sayers, all of these other fabulous writers and so on, as we drive around Torquay, then Dartmoor, then up to Cheltenham and the environs, the Cotswolds, then into Oxford, finally ending up in London. Brilliant week always, and it's really good fun to get away from my desk. But every year when I come and do these tours, I'm asked, do you have any dietary requirements? And yes, I do, because I try to avoid carbohydrate like the plague. So when we go to a pub lunch and they offer me chips and fish, can't eat the chips because they're full of carbohydrate. The fish is delightful, but it's covered in batter, which is made with flour, which I tend to avoid. So I can pick the fish out of the middle and eat that, but I can't have, it gets difficult. Even more difficult when, for example, we were staying at a hotel, the Imperial, I think it was, in Torquay, and I explained to the chaps there, I'm really sorry, I can't have anything with sugar or anything with carbohydrate in it. And they said, oh, right, well, you can have this pie then. I said, no, because it's a pie. He said, it's okay, it's gluten-free. I said, don't care about gluten, it's carbohydrate. And so they ran through a bunch of other possible things I could have that would be delightful. And I had to keep saying, no, it's got carbohydrate. I can't eat carbohydrate. And that's the difficulty, is that, I have to admit, I have huge sympathy for all of these restaurants, hotels and others who are trying to cope with an ever-increasing number of absolutely god-awful dietary requirements. And how on earth do they cope? They've got gluten intolerance, they've got celiac people, they've got people who can't take dairy, they've got people who decide that they don't want to have anything that's got any animal products in it. How on earth can you run a restaurant or anything with the number of negatives that there are? I shudder to think. But from the point of view of someone who is diabetic, I obviously have to avoid a lot of stuff that would normally go into most meals. I could not possibly eat a McDonald's because the amount of sugar and salt that's in most of their food makes it impossible. I can sometimes, and I do like salads, I will just ask for a simple salad. But then again, you look at some salads and what sort of dressing have they put on it? What sort of amount of sugar is there in that dressing? You think, well, I should be able to eat just a veggie burger, because surely they can't have mucked about with that too much. I had one recently in a local pub. It was absolutely delicious. It was only when I first bit into it I realised they'd covered the whole damn thing in breadcrumbs and they'd obviously added a lot of sugar to it too. So yes, it was a veggie burger, but it was not ideal for a diabetic. So There are apps that will help you. I am always very reluctant to recommend apps, mainly because I don't like filling this thing full of different apps that I'm not certain about. So there are apps which will cost you £5 a month or so. Well, I can't really afford or justify that sort of amount of money. But what you can do is you can buy a book. Now this, how to start this? This is one of the most efficient, effective books I've discovered if you want to avoid carbohydrates. But how accurate is it? I don't know. It is definitely one of those things that is made by a couple of people, Chris Chayette and Yellow Balolia, and it says that it's supported by Diabetes UK. What does supported by Diabetes UK mean? I don't know. Diabetes UK, is that actually a charity? Don't know. Is it a money-making organisation? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this book is £16 as a paperback. Now, it is rather nicely produced. Each page feels sort of plasticized as though it's waterproof, and you can take it to a restaurant or cook with it and you'll be aware of stuff. Don't know. But I do just raise that as a question mark. It's a question mark I've got. Is this being produced just to make some money, in which case you can't trust it 100%, or is it not? I don't know. What I do know is it's actually rather useful. What it'll give you is a series. Here we go. This is a good one. Here we go with spuds. So you've got chips, oven chips. You've got dauphinoise potatoes, gnocchi. Go to the previous page, I've no doubt. Yeah, they'll deep fried chips and stuff. So here we have deep fried chips, 33 grams. It gives you the weight that you're looking at. It tells you how many carbs there are, 12 grams of carbs in 33 grams, which is 10 grams per chip, roughly 11 grams per chip. And that means you've got 4 grams of carbs in those 11 per chip. 3 chips, 90 calories. Then you've got 1 gram of protein, 4 grams of fat, 1 gram of saturated fat, 1 gram of fiber. But the nice thing is, okay, so that's a 30 gram plateful. That's double it, 66 grams. That's 100 grams. That's 168, 170. That's 235, that's 300. So what this book does is, it'll give you a visual representation of how much food you've got on your plate, and then it will run through all the carbohydrate, all the protein, the fat, everything else, all on the one page. Now that is really quite useful. Let's have a look at dauphinoise potatoes. So you've got 72 grams is that much. 220 grams is that much. And that's 300 and something. Now just think about it. You've got 72 grams, and that's 11 grams worth of carbs and 181 calories. 2 grams of protein, 15 of fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, 1 gram of fiber. Compare that again with 3 chips, which is 33 grams, so under half the amount, but 12 grams of carbs, 11 grams of carbs for more than double the potato. That I thought was interesting. And then 90 calories, whereas the dauphinoise is more than double that, it's 180. but it's more than double the quantity of potato. So if you're going out to a restaurant, although it may not look that impressive, you look at chips and think, well, you know, there's no cream or anything on it, that must be better for me. Actually, Dauphinoise potatoes is a great deal better for you. Yes, it'll have roughly the same number of calories, but in terms of weight, that is, for 35 grams of chips is about the same as 35 grams of Dauphinoise potatoes. But the Dauphinoise potatoes have got half the carbohydrate, which is interesting. When you start looking at the larger quantities, of course, 222 grams of Dauphinoise potatoes, that's 33 grams of carbs, 560 calories. So it's not ideal if you're looking at losing weight. Interesting. What then you can go to is, let's have a look at, for example, some pasta. Here is some tagliatelle. So 30 grams, 90 grams, 150 grams, 210 grams, 330 grams down the bottom there. Small quantity, 30 grams, is 10 grams of carbs. 1/3 is carbohydrate. 53 calories. Protein negligible, 2 grams. 0 fat, 0 saturated fat, 1 gram of fibre. Not very good. Get down to what I would look at as a sensible sort of plateful in my old days of eating pasta. I'd probably have had 270 grams. This is cooked on the plate. That's 90 grams of carbs. So that's basically 90 grams of sugar going into your system, because as soon as you eat the carbs, they convert to sugar. 470 calories. It has got 5 grams of fibre, so it's a little bit better. But what is interesting is when you look up the whole wheat versions. I am looking for them now. Pasta and noodles. Here we go. This is a better comparison here. So you've got 33 grams of plain white spaghetti. Here you've got 33 grams of whole wheat spaghetti. Now, the carbohydrate in both is the same, 10 grams. The calories is slightly less with the whole wheat. It's 48 compared to 52 for the white pasta. 2 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 saturated fat, 1 gram of fibre in each. The difference, though, is that the glycemic index is going to be different. And what you'll find is, if you have the whole wheat pasta, it will take considerably longer for that to convert the carbohydrate into sugar in your bloodstream. It's better for you. So if you can, when you're going out to a restaurant, don't just look at the quantity, look at the type of pasta they're providing you with. And the last thing I would say is, the nice thing about this is that at the back there is a section called Eating Out, and it will go through here everything that you might want to order. So let's just say chicken balls at a Chinese. If you have 38 grams of carbohydrate of weight in one chicken ball, 5 grams of carbohydrates, about 100 calories. So 4 of them, 20 grams of carbohydrate, 360 grams of 360 calories. Have a duck pancake, 12 grams of carbs, 120 calories. Prawn crackers. No one has so few prawn crackers. That's much more likely. That is 35 grams of crackers, 20 grams of carbohydrate, 200 calories, just in a dish of little light, insignificant things like that. And then go for some of these things. And this is the telling bit. Spinach. 40 grams of spinach has 0 carbs and 8 calories. Spring greens, 40 grams. Nice filling amount of food. 1 gram of carbohydrate, 8 calories. If you have 80 grams of spring greens, which is a large quantity, 1 gram of carbohydrate, 16 calories, and 3 grams of fibre. Don't forget the fibre. If you go to things like radishes, I love radishes, 80 grams of radishes has 2 grams of carbohydrate, 10 calories. Really very little. If you go and look at, let's see, what else? Oh yes, let's look at peppers. I love peppers. 80 grams of pepper, 2 grams of carbohydrate, 12 of calories. So that's all, yeah, that's not surprising. Vegetables and pulses, all good as well. But if I go out and I say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just have a salad because that's easier. So let's have a chicken Caesar salad. I'm not sure if it's actually got a chicken Caesar in here. Chicken Caesar salad, 161. We have got something. So let's have a look at this. 161. So 100 grams of Caesar salad has 1 gram of carbohydrate, 182 calories. I assume that's because of the amount of cheese and mayonnaise that goes into it. So you've got 16 grams of protein, 13 grams of fat, 3 grams saturated fat, 1 gram of fibre. So that's good. Have 205 grams of chicken Caesar. You've got 3 grams of carbs, 373 calories. Now, possibly a large amount of that is going to be the bread as well, because they normally have toasted croutons on a chicken Caesar. But look at this. This I found fascinating. A tiny 15 gram, that is 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise. You see, that is a tiny quantity. 0 carbs, good. But 103 calories just in that tiny quantity. If you have 2 tablespoons, you've got over 200 calories, which makes it not very good. But you can get reduced fat mayonnaise, light mayonnaise. And it is better, it's half. So light mayonnaise, 1 tablespoon, 43 calories compared to the 100. Or 86 calories compared to 206. Then you start looking at things like mint sauce as an example. 16 grams, 1 tablespoon, 3 carbs, 16 calories. Now I thought mint sauce would have a much higher level than that. I also thought ketchup would be a lot worse. A tablespoon, 4 grams carbs, 17 of calories, which is a surprise, especially when you compare that with something like mango chutney, which has 12 grams of carbohydrate and 50 calories in the same 1 tablespoon portion. So, all in all, what does that say? Well, what it says is, this is probably not perfect. I don't know how accurate the testing is when they do this. There is a foreword, there is an introduction. They talk about healthy eating principles. They talk about tips for healthy eating. Eat more fish. Eat more plant-based proteins like beans and lentils. Choose whole grain carbohydrates. Limit sugar and sugary foods. Cut back on the biscuits. Choose lower fat dairy products, they say, although all the other advice I've seen says choose the higher fat dairy products because they leave you feeling more full. Choose healthy fats like nuts. Drink alcohol in moderation. Okay. Limit salt intake to 6 grams a day. 6 grams is a lot of salt. And it goes through the nutrients, how much do you need, protein, fat, processed foods, what should you avoid, fibre, and all that sort of stuff. It is a useful, interesting read. I'll be taking it with me because it is convenient to have. But it's also a bit of a pain. I mean, this is a heavy book. It's heavier than most of the food recipes inside it. So it's not perfect, but if you're new to this sort of thing, if you're trying to work out what is best to eat when you go out for a meal, I can thoroughly recommend it. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it doesn't matter. It's giving you pointers and giving you some direction about what is best for you. And that is it. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope that was quite interesting. It is everything to do with diabetes. Carbohydrate and sugar is just a ruddy minefield, but hopefully that was of some use, some benefit to you. And if so, if you liked it, don't forget, go down the bottom, hit the like button, chuck any comments at me you want, because it's really a little series of videos trying to help people by giving them ideas about things, but my ideas really come from you guys dropping in comments. So any help you can give me with thinking up future videos would be gratefully received. And that's all for now. Thanks very much for your time, and take care. Speak to you in another week's time. Stay healthy. Bye.